The way we talk to ourselves can have a huge impact on the way we feel, function, and just live. And if that self talk is positive, it can make your life wonderful. You feel like you're yourself's friend. You help yourself, you talk good to yourself, you support yourself, you encourage yourself, and life just seems much more easier. On the other hand, if you talk negatively to yourself and about yourself as well, life can become so much harder just because you're being yourself's enemy. You're being an enemy to yourself. And whenever you try to do something, you just put yourself down. You try to achieve something, you call yourself a failure. And I don't mean you personally, I'm just talking in general. And if you do well, you might tell yourself, like, this is just a coincidence, and things like that. So I think it's very important to talk about self talk and self esteem as well, which is tightly linked to self talk. And I'm not going to take a sort of scientific approach to this. I'm just going to be talking normally, just dissecting these two concepts without making it too scientific or like too nerdy. So, the way I see it is self talk is obviously the way you talk to yourself and also about yourself in front of people. And it's that inner voice that you have. And sometimes it can be really critical, sometimes it can be encouraging, sometimes it can be neutral. And everyone knows the inner voice that they have. And a lot of people struggle with like a very negative, harsh inner voice. And I know people like that. And I've personally dealt with that at some point in my life, but thankfully it's gotten better now, where that inner voice is just relentless. It's relentless. It tries to tear you down, genuinely. Like it seems like it's your enemy. And it's really hard to live with. Imagine living every single day with your enemy just whispering in your ear all the negative things that you could ever think of. Yeah, it's no wonder that people are getting depressed and anxious and burnt out and all the negative things basically. And I used to think about this a lot. And why would people say these things to themselves? Why would they put themselves down? And like the self-deprecating behavior as well. Sometimes people like joke about themselves in front of people to make others laugh, like like the school's clown, whatever, like those kind of people. And I've personally never really felt that urge to put myself down as such, but sometimes I talk negatively to myself, and I've noticed that. And obviously, after talking to a lot of people and just analyzing life and inspecting everyone around me, it seems like it really comes from childhood, I guess, and the way parents talk to their kids. For example, friends, maybe in like school, teachers, bullies, sometimes even culture and tradition as well. Because if you're from a certain part of the world, for example, you might feel like less about yourself, and then because of social media and all of that, and then that translates to the way you talk about yourself to yourself. I remember I went to the gym about like 3 weeks ago, and I met a really nice guy. He was doing Bulgarian split squats. I don't know if you know what that exercise is, but it's brutal. And I just said hi, and we started talking. And he was from here. So when I say here, I mean the UK. And he was white. So I talked to him. He was like, "Oh, I asked him, oh, where are you from?" Like, and he said, "Oh, I'm just white." And like, that's boring, sorry, and things like that. I was like, you know what? It's not boring. Because to me, I'm not white. So it's interesting to me. I'm fascinated. What kind of white? Where are you from? Like, what's your culture? What's your tradition? That kind of thing. And I told him, like, I noticed that a lot of white people say that. Like, like this is boring because he's from here and I'm living here, so he thought it was boring. Like I get it, I get why he said that, but But still, because I'm not white, so for me, I'm Arab. So for me, that's interesting. I'm learning about a different culture, different something totally new to me. It's not entirely new now, but like, you know what I mean. And he said like, "Oh, that's so true." And when you think about it like that, and for some reason we tend to put ourselves down. And I was like, "Yeah, like you shouldn't do that. Why would you do that?" Because I didn't think that. And yeah, we just ignored that conversation. Then I started talking about something else. But the point is like, I've noticed that a lot with white people living here, and I feel bad. Like, why would you say that about yourself? Like, why would you put yourself down? And that's just one example. And I remember talking to a girl who told me that, I mean, this is a very common theme. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced this, but like growing up, their parents would like comment on their body, things like that, and they grow up feeling like really bad about themselves, I guess, or like their physical appearance, and then years down the line, you hear them talking negatively about themselves, like to themselves. They're like, "Oh, look in the mirror, like you're ugly," or I don't know, "You're fat," whatever. Like, who would want to be with you? Some stuff like that. It's just sad, honestly. We internalize these voices and we live with them for years and years and years unless we do something about them. And analyzing someone's childhood can reveal so much, not just about self talk, but like a lot of stuff in general. And yeah, I think parents play a huge role in this. They either make your they either bring up your confidence and your self-esteem and the way you talk about yourself and to yourself and for yourself, or they break it. They break you down. I remember one of my friends, he told me that his parents would be very critical of his academic achievements and they would just like tear him down, like, "Oh, why'd you get like this grade and why are you not doing like the other students, why are you whatever." And I guess sometimes it can be like, it can reach a point where where they would say, "Oh, why are you dumb, or you're stupid, or look at your, I don't know, like friend, cousin, whatever, they're doing much better than you," like things like that. Thankfully my parents weren't like that. They never really judged me like that or put me down, so I grew up with, I guess, thankfully, like good self esteem. I rarely used to hear those negative voices, and when I did, I would like fight them back gently. And I'm gonna come on to talk about how to like sort of deal with those things because you might think like, or you might be thinking like, "Oh, this guy doesn't know anything like he's talking about," but I do because at some point I had those. For a long time, actually, I had those thoughts, and it's not easy to deal with. And it's something that happens sometimes when you're not feeling too good about yourself and you're going through, let's say, a depression phase or something like that. These negative thoughts start to arise and they just attack you relentlessly. And you have to know how to deal with them. Yeah, so it can also come not only from like parents and friends and teachers and all of that, but, and as I said, like culture and tradition, but also like just social media in general. Because, for example, as a person who goes to the gym regularly, at some point in my life, I was like really criticizing my body just because of body dysmorphia, things like that. You know, you see a lot of like insanely great physiques online, like on Instagram. Thankfully, I don't use social media anymore, so I'm relaxed now, I'm chilling. But you see just them like insane physiques, and they're not natural, and they're some of them like have undergone like surgery and crazy stuff. And you start comparing yourself, and eventually the negative self-talk begins to appear. So you start saying things like, "Oh, but I'm fat," even though like you're nowhere near fat. But, and even if you're fat, it's fine. Like being fat is not a crime, guys. Like it's okay to be fat. What's not okay is to be sort of delusional about it as in like you lie to yourself to not feel the pain of being what you don't want to be. It's not that I care as such, but like if you lie to yourself, you're gonna harm yourself, so it's not good. But like being fat, whatever, it's not a big deal. It can always change if you want. But yeah, so you start hearing those voices that come out of nowhere, like, oh, you're fat, you're like not big enough, not muscular enough, not whatever. I don't know. Like you see a lot of guys like concerned about their height. They're like, oh, I'm not tall enough, I'm not. These are things they've picked up from social media and stuff like that, because in real life, nobody really cares about height that much. Like, I personally don't care at all. But I mean, some do. Like, some girls obviously do, but I mean, even the ones that do don't necessarily make it everything. I'm obviously here talking about like normal people. I'm not talking about people who have nothing going on for them and they just want something very superficial and materialistic. Like I'm talking about like normal girls, normal guys, normal guys. So nobody really cares. That's just social media standards that in real life you rarely hear anybody talking about that. Like in my family, my I know friends and everyone around me, nobody talks about these things. And you pick that up from social media and you start talking negatively to yourself. So that's just one example about like appearance and things like that. Like being fat, being skinny, not being tall enough, not being attractive enough. The list goes on and on and on. So yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can pick up negative self-talk and it doesn't have to come from childhood. You can sort of pick that up even as an adult. So you have to protect your peace and you have to protect yourself and the way you talk to yourself. And if you keep talking to yourself negatively for a long time, you can really get bad. Like you can start. First of all, the problem is you normalize it. And I've seen this a lot, honestly, it's so sad. Like I've talked to people where they're just like talking negatively about themselves in front of me like, "Oh, but I'm dumb. Oh, but I'm stupid. Oh, but I'm what? I'm weak. I'm lazy." I hear this a lot, lazy. I'm whatever. Like they just keep like putting themselves down in front of people. So you can only imagine what they to themselves in their head. And I always tell them to like not don't say that. Why would you say that? First of all, that's not true. Whatever you're saying is most likely not true. Second of all is if you say it and you normalize it, that's just dangerous. If you normalize it because it's not normal. Like and I remember one person told me like, "Oh, this is just what I tell you, but if you hear what I actually think in my head, it's like 10 times worse." I'm like, that's insane. That's really insane. Like, I'm not saying they're insane, I'm saying the situation is just bad. And I think the first step is normalization. You just normalize this negative self-talk and it becomes normal and then you just keep doing that over and over and over every day till it becomes a habit, till it becomes like the norm. And when you talk to yourself like that, it will show on the way you communicate, the way you carry yourself. People will smell that. And obviously if you're surrounded by bad people, abusers, manipulators, things like that, they will sniff that energy and they're going to abuse it. So it's not good. It's dangerous. And you can also become depressed from it, obviously. Depressed, anxious, low self esteem. And if you have low self esteem, you can settle for so little and you have people abuse you and use you and it's just a mess. Just a mess. And people won't respect you. It's just it starts with a few negative comments and then I don't know, like it snowballs into something huge of just like self I don't know, like degradation or something. Like you're just out there to get yourself. It's really, yeah, it's really hard and it's sad as well. And I feel for you. If you're that person, I feel for you. And I wish you didn't have to go through that. But with each experience, you grow as a person. And it's better to go through hardships and learn and become stronger rather than living a sheltered life where you know nothing. Because as a sheltered person, if you just fall once, that's it. You don't know anything. And falling as an adult is hard, as opposed to like having a rough childhood where you can sort of recover and learn over the years. You'll have time. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying childhood trauma is easy. All I'm saying is like it's better to sort of grow sometimes and take the hardships early on as opposed to waiting and living like a sheltered, perfect life and then getting, I don't know, unexpected hardship as an adult and then your life just crumbles. But yeah, just having low self-esteem can be really bad, and negative self-talk is linked to it. And I think the first step towards like dealing with this is acknowledgement and recognition. So listening to the voice, making sure that you understand that, oh, I'm actually talking negatively to myself. Because obviously you would have had to have normalized it first to make it a habit and then you just do it and do it and do it. But you have to like step back and be like, oh, so I am talking negatively to myself and I can recognize it now and I see it for what it is. Like just recognition and removing that normalization. Be like, oh, this is not normal. Like I know I do it. I'm not gonna bash myself for it. I'm not gonna like negatively talk to myself even more. Like, oh, why do you think these thoughts? Are you stupid? Like, no. It's like, okay, I get these negative thoughts and they're not pleasant. And I don't know where I got them from. I don't know why I'm doing this, but it's okay. I'm gonna gently work through these thoughts and eventually get out of this. It's only a phase. Encouragement, healthy self talk. You treat yourself like you would a really close friend or a family member or a loved one. Just being gentle with yourself genuinely because you deserve it. You deserve it, and you are the most important one in your life. Or you're the most important person in your life. So you should treat yourself good. I feel like after you recognize the voice, you have to be intentional about fighting it. Not in a crazy way, like, let's say I say to myself bad things like, I'm stupid. Let's say I say that. I don't think the solution is to be like, oh, I'm smart. I'm smart. I don't know, like in front of people, you'd be like, you try to prove yourself. And if they ask a question, you try to like be the first one to solve it and answer everything and be a know it all. And like you go to the extreme. And that's usually how you know someone's insecure because they do too much. And it's like, if you're secure and if you actually are comfortable with yourself, you wouldn't necessarily do that. Because confidence and self esteem, they're quiet and silent, but strong and firm. Like a person who's confident wouldn't do that. I remember when I was in med school, there was a girl in my group, and she was very smart. Genuinely, she was very smart, and she was such a well-spoken person, eloquent. She did her physical examinations perfectly. I thought she was amazing. Like she was just consultant level medical student, and we were only like, I don't know, like in third year or something. So she was really good, just impressive. But she was a bit too loud. Like she was overdoing it, and I thought she was better than me. Like genuinely, and I don't feel ashamed of that because you give credit where it's due. And I thought she was better than me, and I would tell her that, like, "Oh, you're better than me. It's fine." But she was a bit too loud. Like she wanted to prove something, and I remember one day we did like a mock exam, And I did terribly just because I didn't study for it. And I didn't care because it was a mock exam. I didn't want to study for it. I was using my energy differently. I had a different plan. And everyone else did obviously study for it. And I failed it. I failed it. And then we met after the exam as a group. And she asked me, like, how did you do? And I said I failed the exam. And I was laughing about it because I didn't care because, yeah, I hadn't done anything for it. And she started laughing and she was like, oh, just make sure you don't fail the actual exam. And I laughed as well because I didn't care because I knew I was going to do well in the actual exam because I know myself. And I got a distinction on the actual exam, but not to brag, but just to drive home a message here because I knew what I was doing. And I don't know how she did, but my point is, she had the capability to be an excellent doctor, and she was. But the insecurity just shows. It really shows. So my point is, when you hear something negative inside your head, I don't think the wise solution is to go all out like, no, I'm not stupid, I'm smart, I'm gonna prove it, I'm gonna like study even more, I'm gonna, I don't know, prove it to myself, prove it to my parents, all that. I don't think that's the solution because when you do that, you're basically confirming to yourself that you are stupid. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you're not stupid, but you're like, if you actually listen to the voice and you try to fight it this way, you're practically saying to yourself, yes, I am stupid, so I'm going to work on it. I don't think that's the way because you're not stupid. You can't be like, you can't agree with it and fight it in that way. It doesn't, I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is to gently fight it. So, for example, I say to myself, you're stupid. And then I hear these voices obviously in my head, like I don't say it out loud. Like I fail an exam and I get these thoughts like, oh, you're dumb, you're stupid, like everyone else is smart and everyone else is doing well and everyone knows everything and you don't know anything. And you just keep like getting stuck in this, I don't know, this nightmare. And then I personally would be like, okay, we failed the exam. We could have done better. We could have done so much like to prevent this from happening, but it happened and it's God's will. And whatever you say that I'm stupid or whatever, okay, you can say whatever you want, but I don't care. I don't care because I deserve respect as a human being and I'm not stupid, but I don't need to prove it to you. I don't need to prove it to you. Because if I try to prove it to you, that means I'm actually triggered. I'm actually saying, like, oh, yes, I am stupid, so I'm working on it. No. Like, you don't need to give it that energy. Or let's say I say to myself, like, oh, you're ugly, for example. I would remind myself that, you know what? Like, you say that I'm ugly, but I don't agree. You can say that I'm ugly. I say this to the voices in my head. You can say that I'm ugly, whatever you want to say, but I don't agree, and I don't need to prove it to you that I'm not ugly. So, I'm I'm just gonna continue living as I am. Like I'm not gonna prove anything to you. And over time, this voice is gonna be like, you know what? It's not working with this person. Like I keep trying to tear them down, and there's like they don't fight back. They don't give me that energy back, and just like I don't know. I'm angry. You're angry. You just like keep fighting. No, just like cool it down. Like okay, you can say whatever you want. It's okay. It's okay. I'm good enough. Just small affirmations, nothing crazy. I'm good enough, and then you move on. At least that's how I would do it. Obviously, as I said, like, or I always say that this channel is just me philosophizing and just like talking out loud and thinking out loud. So it might not be correct, it might not be true, I don't know, but it works for me, and I hope people benefit from it. Yeah, and this can also be in a spiritual context, which I'll come on to talk about in a bit. And it's very interesting as well because I think this solution doesn't like fully, the picture doesn't fully form unless there's a spiritual aspect to it as well. Because we're not just, I don't know, like bone and meat. Like we're just not like just physical beings. We're spiritual beings and we have a soul and we have feelings and we have things that we can't really see. So your worth is not based on your looks and things like that. It's much bigger than that. So when you get these like silly voices in your head, there's like, oh, you're ugly, you're stupid. But who said that my value is based on these things only? Like, oh, I'm only valuable for my intellect or for my looks or for my money or no. We're much deeper than that as human beings. And we have innate worth as human beings. Each one of us has worth. Even if you're a bad person, like just objectively bad person, like someone who's done a lot of bad things, you can always become good. Like there's always potential to become good and to not, like, what I'm trying to say is there's always worth in a person. No one's like worthless, if that makes sense. Oh, and this is one of the things that people say all the time, like, I'm worthless, I'm stupid, I can't do anything right, I'll probably fail at this, I can't do this. It's really sad, honestly. I hate when people talk negatively to themselves. I just hate it so much. And I always tell them, I always try to like bring them up and just like encourage them, like, you know what, like, it's objectively as a person seeing you from the outside, you're nothing. Like you're not, sorry, you're nothing of whatever you're saying you are. But obviously it doesn't work like that. These are deeply ingrained in your head. But that's how you have to like, oh, that's why you have to fight them back gently and disprove those thoughts. Not excessively though. When you do it excessively, I think you do the opposite. You confirm to yourself that you are actually insecure about it. Or at least that's my take on it. Just want to check my notes because I feel like I have more things to talk about and hear about the practical side of things. Oh, yeah, this is an important point. So, whenever you start being gentle with yourself and talking positively to yourself and being nice to yourself, it's gonna feel really awkward and weird and just fake, frankly. Fake. Like, if you say things like, oh, good job, you did well today, I mean, like, who says that? Like, that's awkward and cheesy. Like, why? Nobody says that to themselves. Like, oh, well done, you, like you did. No. But I say that to myself. I say that to myself all the time, ever since I was a kid. Like, whenever I do something hard, I'm like, you know what, Faisal, you did well. That's really good. You stood up for yourself. You did that thing that you just thought you couldn't do. You worked hard. You deserve something good. Like, I actually used to say those things as a kid, and I never knew that people didn't say those things. Like, I thought that was normal. And some people might say, like, oh, your parents used to say those things to you. That's why, like, you internalize that. But no, not really. Like, I don't remember anyone telling me these things. Like, I don't know, maybe it's like God's mercy to me or something. I don't know, but I used to, and I still do, say these things. Even today, I was saying it. I was like, Faisal, you did. Like, there was a problem I was having like a few days ago, and I was like, you did really well handling that situation. And sometimes I say I'm proud of you. Sometimes I say that as well. Um, and yeah, so it will feel fake at the start for sure if you're not used to it. You're gonna be like, because when you're used to like hating yourself and like beating yourself up and looking down on yourself, anything nice is gonna feel weird. It's like I'm not used to this. This is weird. This is too much, man. Like I can't handle these nice words and nice phrases. It's just like when someone's like someone who's so used to being abused or like mistreated and they find a good person, like a genuinely good person, and that person treats them well, they would feel like this is weird. Like, I'm not used to this person real. Like, is this, you know what I mean? But it is. It is. And you definitely have to be intentional about positive self talk. You can't let those negative self talk, like self thoughts or self negative thoughts, you can't let them like just talk and just like let them be and normalize it and be like, oh yeah, that's normal for me. I always call myself dumb and worthless. No, you have to fight it back gently, nothing crazy, but gently. But you have to be intentional about it. Like, oh, I recognize the voice now. It's telling me that I'm gonna fail. Be like, you know what, Faisal, you're safe. You're okay. You're not gonna fail. And even if you fail, it doesn't matter. Why? Because you're a human being and you have worth, and God loves you. That's at least for me, because not everyone believes in God, but that's what I would say to myself. And you have worth. You have things bigger than that. Um, this is just a tiny, tiny bit of your life, like let's say an exam or something. And even if you fail it, who cares? Who cares? I know it's hard. I know, like I've talked to people about this, and a lot of people told me that it's just impossible for them to like minimize these things like exams or whatever, interviews, things like that. I failed my medical school interview. I failed. I lost. Um, I went to a boxing tournament, a local boxing tournament, when I was like 16, and I lost on the first match. What else? Yeah, I failed a lot of stuff, but who cares? I'm a doctor now, and I don't even care about being a doctor, to be honest. Just because it's not, this is not what gives me worth. Being a doctor, failing an exam, being attractive, being rich, being tall, whatever you can think of. All of that is not where worth comes from. In my opinion, and the way I live life, my worth comes from worshiping God. That's it. This is where this is what actually matters to me. And if I fail in that, I would feel bad. But I'm gonna talk about that in a bit. Okay, let me just look at my notes. Yeah, so I think it's also important to know where the voices came from, whether came from parents, siblings, teachers, friends, family members, culture, social media, society, whatever they came from. Um, I think it's important to identify that so you can understand these voices even better as well. Because once you know like who gave you those thoughts, you can analyze that person as well. Let's say it's your parent calling you like, I don't know, ugly. And then you start to see that person and see how they see themselves. And you notice that that's how they talk to themselves. They think they are ugly and they project that onto you. And when you see that, you might feel liberated from that internal voice as well. That might be another way to go about it as well. Because once you see the facade and you see, oh, like, oh, it's not about me. Like, they're just, they just say that all the time to everyone. And you feel like, oh, it's not so personal, then you might be able to detach from that voice a little bit. And you can sort of put the blame on them, like, not blame, but like put the pressure on them. Like, oh, it's them who's got this problem, not me. That kind of thing. So yeah, that's it from like a practical standpoint, I think. Sorry if it's not organized. Again, like I don't prep for these videos. I just write like a few bullet points, so I remember everything I want to say. But I don't really have like a solid structure or anything like that. So I just talk about whatever, to be honest. And if it's helpful, that's great. If it's not, then I don't know. But hopefully it helps. Yeah, negative self-talk, man. It's it's really sad. It's just sad. Yeah, in some societies as well, you see it like quite normalized. Like, I don't want to like name any cultures or anything like that, but in some cultures, like you see it like blatantly just happening, like in public, just normal, like people just talking badly to each other about each other is crazy. I don't want to like mention anything specific, but if you have that in your culture, you're gonna know. Yeah, I think my biggest advice is to not normalize it. Don't normalize it. You don't need to call yourself anything. You don't need to put that label on yourself. You don't need to call yourself dumb. You don't need to call yourself ugly, short, broke, loner, stupid. I don't know. I don't use these words that much. That's why I'm like I can't think of much. Like I can't think of many words. What else? Yeah, basically any negative word. I would say don't normalize it. Don't be like, "Oh, that's just me. I'm lazy," or like, "Oh, I've always been like that." Oh, no. And I'm going to digress a little bit, but I have a very important point as well. You might be saying things about yourself and sort of identifying with those things. Like, let's say you call yourself lazy, okay? And you've been calling yourself that for years, since you were like a kid. You know what the problem is with that? Not only negative self talk and like low self esteem, depression, anxiety, all of that, there is another layer as well that's very important, which is it affects your identity. And it might not be true, and it most likely not true. What do I mean by that? So let's say you call yourself lazy, okay? And you, in your default state, you're not lazy, but you don't know that. Why? Because you've always felt lazy because you had a problem. Let's say you had a hormonal problem. Let's say it's genetic, let's say. So you were born like that and you felt lazy, like genuinely felt lazy. And you started identifying as a lazy person when you weren't meant to be lazy. You could have had the treatment for whatever is going on and the laziness would have gone away. So once you accept it and actually call yourself lazy, you live laziness when you could have not lived it. The Let's say the other alternative of the story is you find out you don't call yourself lazy, you call yourself nothing. It's not don't label yourself like that. You say like, "Oh, I feel tired today. I've not been so energetic as of late." But no labels like I am lazy, I am stupid. No, 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 none of that. And if you don't identify with these things, these negative things, you're closer to finding the solution. Because if you give in and you're like, "Oh, I'm lazy," you're just going to stop. You're not going to try to find a solution for that. But if you don't, you'll always feel like, "Oh, but this is something that's not me. This is something weird. I have to solve it, I have to fix it." And eventually, you might find a solution. I was like, "Oh, so I'm not lazy. I'm actually like just like I've got this deficiency in whatever, like hormone, whatever." And then you take the treatment, you're not lazy anymore. I hope this is making sense. I know it's a difficult example, and maybe I've not done a good job at explaining it, but it's an important one. Yeah. So this is from a practical standpoint, and I'm gonna now talk about the spiritual standpoint. So if you believe in God, you can watch this. If you don't, then you can skip it. I'm Muslim, so I'm gonna be talking about this from a Muslim or Islamic perspective standpoint. So let me bring my notes here. Okay. Oh yeah, this is a very cool and interesting point that I've noticed sort of when I was like reading the Quran and things like that. God, God never talks negatively about us. Ever. That's something I noticed when I was reading the Quran. And I found it so fascinating. Genuinely, it was so fascinating. Because I was thinking in my head, like, if God was judgmental in the way that, like, he would call us, like, stupid or, like, whatever, these things, I would have felt off, like, why would you put me down, if that makes sense? Because I'm trying to get better and you're, like, kicking me while I'm down. But he doesn't do that at all. The way he speaks to the sinners, and all of us are sinners, again, this is an Islamic, like, sort of perspective. Um, the way he talks to us is very gentle and is very encouraging. And I'll read a verse now in a bit. And this is really interesting because this can be translated to psychology as well, and the way you treat yourself. God wants us to repent and be good. That's the foundation. Okay. And the way he gets us to do that is not through humiliation, I don't know, like just insulting us. No, he doesn't do that. He's very merciful and very forgiving. And that's something I love about Islam and I love about God so much. Honestly, this is one of the things that makes me like break down crying because it's so beautiful. Because people wouldn't do that for you. People might forgive you once and twice and 3 times and 10 times, but if they were really patient, then at some point they would be like, "Oh, you're just stupid. Oh, you're just like you can't do anything." Like what? They're just gonna get angry with you at some point. But God doesn't do that. He says like, no matter how many times you sin, I'll still forgive you. Just endless mercy and just something pleasant to deal with, and you feel like you're safe and you feel like your worth is always intact, like you're never being looked down upon, if that makes sense. It's really, really beautiful, honestly. This is just life changing. So I'm going to read the verse here. I think I'm going to read it in English first, but I want to read it in Arabic as well because I don't know, maybe you have some Arabs watching or some people who are interested in the Arabic version. Might sound cooler. I don't know, we'll see. So the verse says, this shows God's mercy. Say, O my servants who have transgressed against themselves. So someone who's done a lot of bad, just a lot of bad. And how does this link to like self-talk and self-esteem? Because this is how you feel good about yourself, and you feel like you're always hopeful, and you're always God is always merciful, and life feels beautiful and colorful. It's just not like I don't know, dark and gloomy. Like oh, I'm a sinner. Like I'm always a bad person. Like I will never be good. No. So I'll just read it again. So say, O my servants who have transgressed against themselves, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. He is the most forgiving, the most merciful. Yeah, so this is profound. So the way he's speaking to the people who have transgressed, he says, "Oh, my servants." He doesn't say, "Oh, you who have transgressed." No, he says, "My servants." So he still calls them my servants. And we're all this person. We're all the transgressors, but obviously with varying levels. So he says, "Do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. He is the most forgiving, the most merciful." See, no judgments, no, I don't know, name calling, no anything like humiliating, nothing like that. Nothing like, oh, you're a sinner and you're bad, and nothing like that. Just pure compassion. Like, I don't know if compassion is the right word to say here, but like, just, I don't know, all-encompassing mercy. And this has taught me how to talk to myself. Always endless mercy to myself as well. And then I have God's mercy as well. So I'm just like surrounded by mercy and like compassion and gentleness. So I feel like I can make mistakes. I feel like my worth is always intact. I feel like I'm safe. I feel like I'm not scared of like failing or being less or being whatever because I know my worth is here. If God is happy with me, that's enough. And I know that, yeah, I know that these small things that the voices are telling me are just like silly in comparison to the grand scheme of things. Like I'm trying to think of something like to, I don't know, like criticize myself for. Oh yeah, I have an assignment due next Monday, so that's in like 3 days or something. And I've only just started. I'm running late. Like I've been procrastinating, and I could have done better. But I'm not gonna say anything bad to myself. I'm not gonna be like, um, oh, Faisal, like, what are you doing? Like, you wasted so much time, whatever. No, man. Like, it's chill. Okay, I did procrastinate. I did waste a lot of time, but I'm only human, and we move on. It's okay. I have 3 days now to work on it. It's more than enough. And the time that I've wasted, it is what it is, man. I still get those negative voices like, "Oh, you wasted so much time. You're being lazy. You're not responsible. Whatever." I'm like, no, I needed that time, and it's okay. I enjoyed that time, and it was fun. It was fun and fine, and yeah, that's it. And the voice just like, I don't know, shut up. Like, what can it say? And sorry about the noise in the background, by the way. Oh yeah, from a spiritual standpoint as well, a lot of the negative self-talk can come from the devil as well. So it's not necessarily childhood trauma or like voices from your past or like social media, things like that. No. It can be like literally from the devil, like trying to break you down. And the way I see the devil is I see him as like an abuser, someone who abuses people. And he does his best to like break you down, like ruin your self-esteem, like keep calling you like names and like trying to literally break you down. And so yeah, obviously like you seek help from God in these instances, but this is just a point that I wanted to make. And one last thing that I wanted to mention about in the spiritual side is there has to be a balance between like committing sins and wanting God's mercy, because this is really linked to self-esteem. When you place your worth on the way you're with God and things like that, you begin to really detach from your worth being based on like worldly things like your beauty or your money or your intellect or your possessions or your status, whatever. Once you feel like, oh, so my worth is linked to God's like acceptance of me. If God is happy with me, I'm following His orders, I'm being good, things like that. You really feel content. Like, oh, I feel good about myself. I'm living according to my values. And if I make God happy, I'm happy. And then those things are start to like matter less and less. Like, oh, who cares about like what I look like, or who cares about my degree, or if I work in McDonald's or something? Who cares? Who cares? Because these are worldly things, and they're quite small. And once you put those things in their rightful place, the voices will quieten as well. Because you will notice that, oh, I'm being criticized for being I don't know, like dumb. Okay, I will. I don't know. Like, I don't agree with the statement that I'm dumb, but at least God loves me, and God thinks that I'm worthy, and He calls me my servant, and God forgives me, and God always says good things about me. So it's just another way to place your worth, like in a different way. I know this video is a bit confusing because we're talking about self-talk and self-esteem and self-worth, and it's just like a bit intertwined. And but yeah, hopefully someone will make sense out of this. And yeah, I was talking about the balance between being like a sinful person and wanting God's mercy. Because sometimes when you're like a bit like nihilistic about God's mercy, you're like, I'm a sinner, I'm just like done for, I'll never recover from this, like I've done so much bad. And the negative self-talk really kicks in here, like, oh, you're worthless, oh, there's no way God will forgive you, like. And obviously the devil plays a big role in this as well. And the self-talk is going to be insane. You're going to be like, again, you're a sinner, you're useless, nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants to be with you, um, you've done so much bad, so much wrong. And then you spiral, and then the, you do so much worse, and you sin even more because you feel like, you know what, like, I'm beyond salvation, like this. I mean, listen to the voices in my head, like I'm being called every single bad thing in the world, like. And you begin to like deteriorate even further, and you spiral, and then you sin even more and more and more. I heard um, like a publicly bad person, I don't want to describe anything more, but like they said that, you know what, I'm already like bad, so might as well just get even worse. That's what I'm talking about. This is despair from God's mercy, and this is the negative self talk just obliterating their life, just demolishing them. On the other hand, some people will be like, God's merciful. God is merciful, and I'm a sinner, but like, I'm just gonna rely on God's mercy and do whatever. Uh, like feeling too good about yourself, if that makes sense in a way. Like you're not scared, you're not regretful, you don't want to make it like you want to improve things with God. No, it's like, oh, God is gonna forgive me, so I might as well just do anything. It doesn't matter. Like I'm chilling. No, that's also being disrespectful of God, because God is gonna forgive you if you're humble and if you try to be better. Not like, oh, you're gonna forgive me, so I might as well just do anything. Now that's a bit, that's like not respecting God and thinking like God is like that He doesn't hear you or something. So there's a fine balance. You sin, you feel bad about yourself in a good way. So this is, again, this is very interesting from a spiritual standpoint, because sometimes negative self-talk in a spiritual sense can be good, because it can put you back into the right path. So let's say you do a lot of bad things, and you feel like you listen to the voices in your head like, oh, like you're sinning, you're not doing what God wants you to do, and look at you, things like that. That can be good, but that can also be bad if it's too much. Because if the voices are too negative, like, oh, you're a sinner, you're worthless, you're whatever, that will make you despair. You're really like, oh, like, I don't know. I don't want to say like any bad words, like, eh, I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna do even worse things because that's it. Like, I'm so bad. Like, I'm beyond salvation, whatever. But if you like have that healthy negative self-talk where you're like criticizing yourself in a reasonable way, it's good because it can make you humble. It can make you reflective, and then you can set things right with God and with people in general and with yourself. So in Islam, in this like Islamic sort of sphere and perspective, people don't think good about themselves in an interesting way. So if someone's like really pious, they think genuinely that they're sinners, and they think that they might be like one of the biggest sinners on earth, but they don't overdo it to the point where they're actually despairing from God's mercy. So there's a really fine balance here. This is really, really hard to explain unless you're like, you've been through it. So that keeps them humble and keeps them always like coming back and repenting and setting things right, and like, as opposed to someone who's like, oh, I'm a holy man, like I don't sin, I don't even think about bad things. Like, how can you say that? Because that's not good self-esteem or like positive self-talk. That's delusion. That's like you're lying and you're not humble anymore, so there's something wrong. That's bordering narcissism. You can never know if you're holy or not holy. You can't. That's God's judgment, not yours. So what you can know is, you can know that you're a sinner, but God loves those who repent. So you're a sinner, you're always a sinner, but you repent and God loves you. As opposed to like, oh, you're a sinner, but God's gonna like, you're bad, but God's gonna have mercy on you, but you're like a bad person. No, no. God thinks you're a good person when you repent. I hope I'm making sense here. So yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about that, because I find this to be a really interesting concept that's just like really not controversial, but not like something you would necessarily think of normally. Like, it's not something that would come to your head normally. It's just interesting. So yeah, um, just to summarize, so self-talk is very important. You have to talk to yourself positively. It might seem fake at the start. It might seem excessive, fake, but it's okay. Do it till it becomes normal. And then you have to be intentional about fighting the negative thoughts, but not excessively to the point where you're being like really over the top. Or like, oh, I feel like I'm ugly, and then I go out and like, I don't know, dress, buy the most expensive clothes, and like a girl, like with the, I don't know, makeup, whatever, like you try to look the prettiest. That's confirming to yourself that you're ugly. You don't need that. You just need to like not agree with it and live normally, not fight it, as in like really fight it. You have to push back gently, but not fight it excessively. And that's from a, I guess, from a practical standpoint. And a spiritual standpoint, as I said, like God's mercy is infinite, and it allows you to really love yourself and feel calm and really improve your self-esteem, just to put it in like simple terms. And yeah, that's me. I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.